The iPhone will be ahead of competitors, even though it's last year's model. So yeah, you can buy a used iPhone 11 right now for cheaper, and you're gonna get a better camera performance and a better video performance than a lot of its competitors in 2020. So the iPhone 11 is a great used purchase, and smart people are going to consider this because they're thinking like, okay, I can get a used iPhone 11 for cheaper than some of these newer competitors out here, and I'm going to get an amazing camera and video performance that's on par with Apple's best iPhone 11 Pro Max. So that's reason number 6 right there, why people would buy the iPhone 11 or something like that, last year's model at a cheaper cost used. So the 7th reason is that the software differences will be minor. So even from the iPhone 8 over to the 10R and the 11, the software differences are pretty minor besides just a navigation difference with the iPhone 8. So I said earlier that you're gonna stay up to date and things like that, longevity. But for number 7, we're talking about how just similar the usage of the software will be. So, you can buy a used one for cheaper and you're gonna get access to the same exact applications, basically the same exact experience. So it kind of makes sense to just get an older, cheaper model like 10R instead of 11, for example, at a better price point, because you're gonna run the same stuff and it's still gonna get the daily tasks done pretty easily. And at number 8 is that you don't have to get stuck in a contract or any kind of payment plans or promotions when you go with a used iPhone versus a new one. Now, it's easy to get trapped into those monthly payments, stuff like that. Now, the downside to this is sometimes you have to fork over more money up front. But at the same time, when you go with something like a used iPhone 8 Plus, you can pop basically any SIM card in there as long as you got the correct model for whatever SIM card you're gonna put in that phone. So I think this is a great reason to buy a used iPhone. I think smart people do this because it allows them more freedom and flexibility to move around different carriers and stuff like that. The next reason people buy used iPhones, smart people do anyway, is that you can get features on used iPhones cheaper that you would think you have to pay more for. So for example, the iPhone 8 Plus here. So you want to get a telephoto camera, but you don't want to pay $800, $900 to do so. Well, buy an iPhone 8 Plus used and you get yourself a telephoto camera. How about an iPhone 11, for example? You want yourself a wide angle camera on here. Well, instead of going and buying a new iPhone 11, save yourself some money and get yourself a used iPhone 11 and get that beautiful wide angle. How about the iPhone 10R? You want to get a great deal on a more modern looking iPhone closer to the current lineup of iPhones, but you don't want to pay much for it. You want the gestures, you want Face ID, stuff like that. Get yourself a used 10R. You're probably going to be quite happy with this device. So that's another great reason that smart people are going to buy a used iPhone, is that they need certain features that might be out of their price range, so they're just going to go with a yesteryear model to do so. And the final reason to consider getting a used iPhone over a new one, and why smart people will do this, is because overall, in the long term, the cost is actually less than buying new iPhones. So it's some basic math. If you buy a new iPhone at $1,000, let's say, you buy 2 of those and you keep them for 10 years. Well, you just spent $2,000. Now, if you want to buy a couple used iPhones, let's say you buy 2 at $400, you got $800 right there. Now, that's still $1,200 less than a new iPhone. You could still buy one new iPhone for, let's say, $700, and boom, you're at $1,500. So essentially, you can get a couple used iPhones and one new one in the span of 10 years for cheaper than buying 2 new premium iPhones. So, used over time in the long haul is going to save you hands down. The only downside to buying used is that your longevity is shortened by maybe 1 year of software updates, or 2, depending on how far back in the phone you do go. So that is why smart people buy used iPhones. That's many reasons why, and I think there's even more reasons why, but I want to hear from you. I know some of you out there have bought used iPhones before, myself included. Share a couple of places you bought them from, and share a couple of reasons why, and why you think this is a great and smart idea to buy a used iPhone. And if you disagree and you think buying a new iPhone is a better deal, or maybe doing a trade-in and getting a new iPhone for almost a used price is a better deal, let us know what you think is the best way to get an iPhone down below. Thumbs up if you enjoyed the content. Subscribe if you haven't already. Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well. Thank you very much for watching, and peace.